mentioned that yesterday the rankings of the most valuable franchises from Sportico, obviously the Dallas Cowboys come up at number one. In fact, I believe their valuation year over year jumped $1.1 billion. The difference between the Cowboys and the second team on the list is the same as the second team on the list, down to 21. That is how huge the gap is that the Cowboys are the most valuable franchise in the NFL. So the top 10 goes like this: Cowboys, Rams, Giants, Patriots, 49ers, and then Jets, Dolphins, Eagles, Raiders, Commanders. But the question that got kicked around here is, if the Cowboys are the most valuable, and they definitely are, why don't they act like it? Now, Corey, I'm going to go over to you first because I really thought this was a great question by you.
Doesn't it feel like the teams that are the biggest teams in sports will move mountains to make their team a winner?
Yes.
They look, man, we need to get Shohei. Let's go spend the money to get Shohei. As a matter of fact, Kevin, since the year 2000, the Dodgers have been as low as 10 on payroll, but consistently top 3 in payroll.
Okay.
The Yankees consistently top 1, 2, 3. Actually, Kevin, 6 is the lowest they've been. That was in 2018.
Wow.
Other than that, it's ones across the board in a time, and for that time where it was all ones, they were a dominant team. The Steinbrenners would go out and get whoever it was. Look at him right now. Who hit 3 home runs last night?
Juan Soto.
Because they said, is he one of the best players in the game? Let's go get the best player in the game. And they went and paid for it. And here we are haggling with Dak and CeeDee Lamb and potentially Micah down the road, instead of saying, look, we're going to do everything we can to ensure that we have the best competitive team on the field. You know what? We're going to go higher. We're going to go draft small because we're a small market team. No, you are in one of the top 4 markets. Are we moving into top 3 at some point here? Probably so. Maybe. With the way things are about to turn. You're in one of the top 4 markets in the country. You are the most valuable team by miles.
Yep.
By countries. Like, you're like that far ahead of people
fair.
That you can make these moves and it's not going to hurt you in the same way. So I don't understand why the Cowboys act like they are poor. Like they are scrapping for pennies all the time, much like Cincinnati. And saying we can't build a winner the same way as all the best teams out there.
I'm really glad that you brought up Cincinnati because I know the argument is going to be made, well, yeah, there's a more strict salary cap or a more realistic salary cap in football.
I was thinking this as he was comparing baseball and football. I like you bringing this up.
Okay, and I did think about that. But then you brought up the example of Cincinnati. Cincinnati was like, we have a player that we're sure that needs to be around. Let's go ahead and get that done.
Joe Burrow?
Yes.
Yep. Get it done.
The other one they're still working on. They're like, oh, we'll see. How much practice are you willing to miss? But for the Cowboys, it feels like they're always dragging their feet in contract negotiations. They say it's because of the cap. I have never been able to shake the feeling that they think that the deal is somehow going to get cheaper. Like, that is how I feel. When they talk about all the leaves falling.
We're going to pressure them into getting a cheaper deal, or somebody out there is going to sign a cheaper deal, and then we're going to get the benefit of signing them for less as well.
That is exactly what I think. So I understand if people are like, yeah, but the salary cap. I agree with that, but I also do still think the Cowboys sit here and they're like, yeah, but they'll take a discount because we're the Cowboys. And then to your analogy about the Dodgers or the Yankees, they're like, I don't care about getting a discount. I'm going to go get that person because that's who the hell I am.
They're the best. Whenever there are free agents out there that are available that can be added to your team, the Cowboys aren't really interested, and they're barely even making real offers to those players.
Yeah.
Like there have been defensive ends, there have been war daddies out there to go get and pursue. And the Cowboys are like, we're going to, okay, you know what? We're going to go make a push at it. How about $4 million? And you're like, that dude's probably going to make 16.
Yeah.
And you have the 16 to spend on the guy, but you just refuse to for whatever reason because you got to keep your powder dry? Is that what it is? It just doesn't feel like, for me, it feels like the Cowboys, like it's the cheaper way. It's the more functional way to draft our guys, keep things here, and then whenever we have stars that we can spend on because they're actually benefiting our $10.32 billion, we'll invest in them, but we're not going to invest in other people.
So here's my question to you. It's only a question. Is this Stephen Jones or is this Jerry Jones?
I don't know.
That is a great question that I can't quite figure out, because it does seem like there are times that they have very different philosophies, but then there are other things that they say and do that it feels like they are exactly in lockstep. And then I know people will bring up the actual cash spent by teams over a 5-year period, and people will try to use that as an example of why the Cowboys are cheap. I don't think that shows why the Cowboys are cheap. I think that shows why the Cowboys are bad at the salary cap. But then they continue to put one foot in, one foot out. Like when it comes to Dak and CD, right? Well, we got to wait and figure this out because the salary cap in the future and everything. Okay, but we brought Zeke back and paid him some additional money, even though you had to cut that other contract. And their response is, well, those are two different contracts and you have to see that. And I'm like, I do see that, but you have to see how you got cost the dead money on your cap.
Is the fear there because Zeke's contract, he still had 2 years? Yeah,
correct.
So is the fear there that if we go ahead and renegotiate with you early, that you're going to demand on the next contract, once the money starts going up, you're going to demand to renegotiate that contract again too? And we're just going to be in this perpetual cycle of renegotiating every year with you because you're just going to threaten to hold out on us after we gave you the most money?
I think that was a unique situation specifically with Zeke in terms of his agent saw the way it was going and was like, there's no way you'll continue to get better, as you can argue with most running backs. And the Cowboys were in a spot where they were like, we're primed to win now. There is a tiny part of me that wonders as the CD thing goes on longer, if they're like, we want to get the deal done, but it doesn't feel like the Zeke deal because we thought we could definitely win a Super Bowl that year. Maybe this year they don't think that.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm going to now ask another question. I know I'm kind of changing this to I'm asking the questions on this because I think people, being honest here, I think people get tired of my opinions on the Dallas Cowboys. I've given up on them.
Sure.
So I'm not going to express my dissatisfaction right now. I'm going to ask you guys questions, and I think you guys are 100% engaged in like this team being great again.
I am engaged in that. Absolutely.
And, I've given up on it, but I'm asking this question, and it's a real question is, do you think if it is Stephen Jones, if I'm going to go to that, if it is Stephen Jones, he's a younger guy. Obviously, like Jerry is getting close to the end. Stephen has, we think, decades left of life. Do you think that he's studying this tremendously to become better at it, to maybe beat people to the punch on what people are going to look at Stephen Jones maybe 3 to 5 years from now and go, hey, we need to look at what Stephen's doing here. Do you understand what I'm saying? That you're putting your heart and soul into trying to figure out how to be the best at this so that your team can be better on the field?
I don't. And here's why. I hope I'm wrong. And I'm just going to base this on one particular thing, as well as all of the interactions we've had over the years. It's the thing that he said about Micah's deal coming up that boggled my mind. Is we brought it up to him and he goes, well, yeah, but that just happened. Like he just became eligible for that deal. And I'm like, I know that. He knows that. And so does his agent. Surely you must know. And he plays a position or a nebulous position at which the price isn't going down. Mm-hmm. Like if he played one of the positions, like maybe center, you can make an argument. Some of those prices are going down a little bit. Not where Micah plays, not where CD plays, not where Dak plays. So I don't understand why, if you were sure Micah Parsons is a part of this team and you need to keep him around, why you don't strike immediately, because then you have more room to flatten out some of the signing bonus money. Instead, you wait until the fact that, well, now it's going to be a lot tougher. You have one less year to flatten out that CD money, and you've already got him locked in at that $18 million. And I know the argument is, well, you can use the franchise tag. Well, you're going to run out of franchise tags at some point, especially with those two going at the exact same time. So that's why I think the answer is no, because I really hated that answer. I was hoping that he would go, you're right, and we have begun to engage in those conversations, but it feels like they want to see how the market plays out. Maybe that's just not how people talk, and that's too much information. But then I would be like, that's a fair point, because it takes both sides. Like, you can't force Micah to sign a contract if his agent's like, I think we can get 38. Let's wait another year.
From the 830, there's a cap limit, Corey. I know this. I've been doing this for a minute. You can't give everyone $50 million a year.
Agreed.
But you sure can go and say Mozzie isn't good enough. And we have to be better at that position instead of saying, you know what, we just have to settle on Mozzie's going to have to grow up this year. And that's where, okay, you know what, we decided that we're going to go with Sam Williams this year. And that's going to be our guy. Unproven commodity.
Sure.
Potentially chaos whenever he makes a bonehead move on the field. But we got to go with him because we invested a draft pick in him. He's cheap, and we got to see what he can do. And then he gets hurt, and your backup is a rookie. And that's what I'm saying is your level of talent across the board dipped during the offseason, and you didn't do the things that were necessary to take that talent to the next place. That's what the best teams do. They say, we have a hole, we got to patch that hole up immediately.
And here's another argument I'm going to make to the you can't pay everybody $50 million. Like, obviously, on the actual surface of that, I certainly agree with that. But here's the rest of it. I actually don't agree with that line of logic because the Cowboys trot that out a lot. Remember back in 2021 when Dak Prescott signed the 4-year, $160 million deal? Oh, my Lord, $40 million per season? We're done. We'll never be able to compete. Here is salary cap hits. $17.2 million, $19.7 million, $26.8 million. Because they kept backloading it because they were like, he's going to be here for a while. Now they're stuck in a spot where if they don't give him money and he walks, you have to pay him $40 million. I agree that you can't pay everybody all of the money. But if you got the Micah deal done now, and then you did the CD deal. Now, the fact that those three are all available for extensions at the same time is less than ideal. But if you would have done CD last year or done Dak last year and then handled Micah this year, you actually can absorb that hit much easier. I'm not arguing everybody gets to be the highest paid at their position. The Jones family is right about that. But if you stagger them out better and you do it before their contract is up, you absolutely can afford to do some of these things.
Yeah, that is for sure. I look at the team that said, you know what, we're not good enough at cornerback, or actually we're pretty damn good at cornerback. Let's go get Stephon Gilmore so we can be even better at cornerback next year. How did that help you last year? Well, Trayvon Diggs goes down. Your star that you just signed a big contract to. Well, guess what? You were able to say we still have Stephon Gilmore, and he's very good. And now, Bland, we have a lot riding on you. But you had Stephon Gilmore there. You said, you know what, we're not good enough at wide receiver. Let's go get Brandon Cooks. I give them credit for what they did last year. For backing off of it this year is where I look at it and say, I don't understand why you're backing away from it. And the pursuit of the championship is the other thing too. If Mike has been, you've said this a number of times, that you feel like a lot of this CeeDee Lamb thing, this Dak thing, headlines. Let's keep ourselves in the headlines by having this. We'll wait it out. We're going to get the stories. We're going to get the questions. We understand those things are going to happen. You are by far the richest team. What do you need? What do you need that presence for still? You're the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And that should be the thing too. We're the Cowboys. Because of our class, because we win all the time, because we do these things, that's why people want to be associated with our brand. And that's and that part of it, I understand, because you are the cream of the crop. You're the top of the ladder. That's why people want to be with you. That's what I want whenever I see $10.32 billion and we act like it too.
Somebody asked this question. I do think this is a fair question. How many teams that don't have a rookie or Hall of Fame quarterback are like kind of acing the salary cap? And so a couple of things. First of all, I think that's a great point. I'm glad they brought it up. That is one of my issues with the way the Cowboys do business. They long ago should have decided if Dak was the guy or not, instead of waiting for the last year every single time. But just take a look at the NFC last year. Here are the last four teams in the NFC. San Francisco, I get it. Brock Purdy makes no money. That makes life significantly easier. Green Bay, remember at this time, they had already spun out of the Jordan Love contract, and that was a different deal now. Detroit and Tampa Bay, Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield. I mean, we'll see what the future holds, but I don't think anyone would argue that right now those are Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and they're certainly not on their rookie deals, and yet Detroit made it to the NFC Championship game. So I understand that person's point. I think their point is very well made, but it is possible.